This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West Podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
Welcome back to the Hockeytown West Podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
I'm your other co-host, Nick.
Nick was trying to do his best Alex Lyon impression in there. For those that aren't watching on YouTube, it was close. It's pretty good. I like it.
I've been practicing a lot in the mirror.
You know what? That's something for a Patreon exclusive there. I'm not jumping into that on this.
Oh, yeah,
but happy Monday, sir. How are you?
I'm good. We got to see the solar. Did you get to see the solar eclipse?
No, I was driving for work, so I drove through it. Like
You
the whole
drove
thing, I was
through an
driving.
eclipse.
Yeah, it was weird. It's really weird when you're just like sitting there and you're like, it's daytime, but sunglasses are off and the headlights are on in the car automatically. Like it's a weird vibe. It's like, yeah, I don't know. But
Like
no, I
end
didn't
of
get
the
to sit there
world?
and stare at it. Yeah, it gives you that vibe.
Yeah,
But-
it was a little weird today at work.
I didn't get to stare at it, unfortunately. I didn't have glasses either. I couldn't find any last minute because they were, of course, gone at every store you went to. And I didn't have a cereal box laying around to make the old cereal box style viewer.
What the heck?
You've never seen that before?
Maybe jog my memory.
If you
I'm old,
take like a cereal
remember?
box and you cut out like an end of it for a viewfinder and then you pin a hole in the other side and use foil and like a blank sheet of paper, if you stand backwards with the sun to your back, you'll see the reflection of the eclipse happening on the paper inside the box without having to stare at it. That's old school. Before the glasses were cool.
Oh, we should redo this. Like the whole day. Can I go out and make the old viewfinder?
I know you didn't get to stare at it either, did you?
Actually, some guys from work did grab glasses. We were able to walk out there and take a look at it. I saw a little bit of it. I didn't get to see the full like eclipse, but I got to see a little portion of it. But the next one, don't worry though. If you missed out on today, I saw earlier that the next one is in 2099 for Michigan.
I saw 2044.
No, for Michigan, 2099. So
Oh.
by then we should be able to see it. I think I'll be about 105. Does that
Yep.
check?
Anyways.
104.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's cool. I mean, dude, going down to Ohio would have been really cool to see it. Like, I know our friends
Toledo?
down there. Yeah, in Toledo, would have been a good spot. Columbus would have been a good spot. Cedar Point opened for today only. Like half the park to go like do it there because they were like right on the center line. So I'm like, that would have been freaking cool. I didn't even see that till the last minute. And I was like, dang it, we would have done that. We totally
you
would have
ride
done
rides?
that. Yeah, they had
Did you
stuff
ride-
open.
Oh, darn.
Like, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool. But anyways, enough about the eclipse. Jesus.
You didn't think we were going to
I'm
start
just-
with that today, did you?
I figured we would start with that. I'm just disappointed I didn't get to actually stare at it. I mean, I could have tried, but it would have really hurt.
Yeah, I'm still feeling the effects.
I don't think it's from the eclipse. But anyways,
Well-
let's jump into the hockey outside of the eclipse. How about that? That sounds like a good thing to do because the Griffins had two very, very big games this past weekend that we've got to talk about against the Rockford Ice Hogs. The team right behind them in the division, the most likely playoff opponent of this Griffins team. They got a 3-game series against them and had games 1 and 2 of that series this weekend. So to dive right into those games, we'll go to Friday's game in Grand Rapids, and the Griffins stomped the Ice Hogs 3-0. A Sebastian Cossa shutout on a Friday. Like, it was really the perfect start to this whole weekend. Like, I couldn't have asked for anything more.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game. I was nervous about it. I mean, I've been saying the last 3 weeks that this series is going to be the matchup for the playoffs, and like this is a huge swing for these 3 games. So we needed to come out. We needed to set the tone, and
God,
did on
set the
Friday.
tone. They did. The
I
thing
think-
like that makes me the happiest here before I get the rundown, like there was 2 power play goals in this game. I haven't seen that in so long. It was so great. Like,
Yeah.
having a good chunk of the lineup back together. I mean, everything started to feel good there. Like, okay, we're still missing some pieces, but at the same time, like, things felt more normal when you're watching the team on the ice. But the team really came together and played a fantastic team game, and seeing that power play success was something that I think we both needed to see before we jump into the playoffs here, because getting the special teams going against Rockford as we head into the playoffs, that's huge. That's super crucial for them. So, quick rundown of the goals in this game. A minute, 3 seconds into the game on the power play. Yep, that's how this game started. Jonathan Berggren, 24th goal of the season, assisted by Matt Luff and Carter Mazer. This goal was fantastic. It's another one of those moments where Bergie gets the puck on his stick, and I think we both looked at each other and we're like, yep, he's going to score here. And he did. So, following that up, there was... is that his new thing? Like, I've seen it on every goal now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like enthusiastic or is it just sarcasm. I can't tell.
And that's 4 straight goals. Well, not 4 straight. Sorry. He had 3 the last game, and he continued to right on the pace of put another one in quick.
4 goals in 3 periods and 1 minute of hockey. Not bad.
Yeah. Well, you had overtime last game.
Okay, so 3 and a few more minutes. I mean, you can make it really interesting and bring up his last game before that, where he had a period and a half too, and he scored and an assist. So the moral of the story is he's scoring a lot right now, and it's really good to see. Like, I know we were both concerned when he came back from Detroit. Like, what Bergie are we going to see? Is it going to be the same Bergie that went to Detroit? Is he going to come back defeated? And he's come back on absolute fire. And I kind of think he's got that chip on his shoulder where he's like, I'm going to show you where I should have gotten my shot and why I should have. And
yeah,
I love to see it. It's exactly the attitude I wanted to see from him.
A revenge story.
I do love a good revenge story. But that was the only goal in the first period there. Shots in that period are 12 Grand Rapids, 7 Rockford. We get into the second period, 17 minutes, 20 seconds in. Zach Aston Reese gets his 14th of the season with Joel Esperance and Amadeus Lombardi assisting. That one was also on the power play. So, like we said, good special teams rolling there. Up 2-0 late in the second. It's what we like to see. And that period wraps out just like that. And they outshot him again in that period, 11-7. Very consistent game to this point so far. And then going to the third period, again, not a lot of action, just a lot of back and forth. Rockford tried to pile on here a little bit, but they couldn't find a way to get the back of the net. And Taro Hirose, 15 minutes, 32 seconds into that period, gets his 9th of the season, assisted by Albert Johansson and Amadeus Lombardi, who gets his 2nd point of the night. So, wrap this one out. The Griffins outshoot the Ice Hogs 32-24, go 2 for 5 on the power play. Sebastian Cossa stops all 24 shots that he faced. And that's it. We won.
And we were good on the penalty kill, too.
4 for 4 again.
4 for 4. The biggest thing that I noticed is that I've been calling for it, is I want to see more down low behind the net set up for the power play. And they did that tonight. Well, on Friday night. And it resulted in 2 goals. I mean, between that was a huge improvement from what we'd seen previously, and it worked. I mean, there's I don't remember the last time we got 2 power play goals in one game, or 2 power play goals recently, like strung together in a week, in a game, in a month. Like we've been talking about the penalty kill, and it's been so bad. So I like to see the adjustment on that. The other thing that I wanted to point out was Amo played his freaking he played so well. He was out there shooting it like crazy every chance that he got. And even the Taro goal, he was streaking towards the net. And Taro was sending it as a pass to him. And it hit off the defender and it bounced in. So, I mean, kids just moving to the right places to be able to get these goals. So, huge shout out to him on those, and just the power play. It was a lot better.
Yeah, he did have a really fantastic game. I think on that goal, the goalie was following him while he was streaking in there. I think the goalie probably would have had him, but that puck getting banked in off the defender end threw Comesso off big time, and we were able to get it past him, and that's all that mattered. Not that they needed that goal to win. I mean, Bergie's first goal of the game, 1 minute in, was the game winner. because Sebastian Cossa did Sebastian Cossa things, extending his point streak, extending the home point streak, and just continues to be an absolute beast in the net. Like we've talked before, everyone talks about Trey Augustine and how calm he is in net. And one of the things you watched Cossa when he was started in the organization was he wasn't very calm. He kind of flop all over the place. He was using his athletic skills to move quickly, but he would overcommit a lot. And dude, I think Friday night was the calmest I've ever seen him in net. Like there was nothing that could rattle him in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I was nervous the last 10 minutes. I'm like, all right, can we just get this shutout, please? Like, let's finish this off. Like, he gave up, was it 4 the game before?
Yeah.
A little bit of a rougher night, and then he comes back and bounces back with 0 the next game, like on 24 shots. So it's not like he didn't have an easier night of 10 or 12, 10 or 12 shots. Like, I think Hutch had a shutout a couple weeks ago for like 14 shots on net.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was like he got a workload. He did get shots, and he had to go on 4 power plays. So like on top of that, or 4 penalty kills. On top of that, like that's the toughest part. We're down a guy. He was able to keep it out of the net. So
yeah,
cheers for
including
Coase.
a big 5-on-3 there too. They killed off a big 5-on-3 in that game, and I think that's where as soon as they killed that off, we knew the Griffins had it in the bag. We didn't know the shutout was in the bag, but we knew they had the win in the bag. I think that was the momentum shift right there. But you bring up Coase bouncing back from that rough game Wednesday. Like even Dan Watson said it post game. Like he's seen Cossa do that before so many times where he has an off game and it's a rough time for him. And the next game he bounces back and just shows how resilient he is and how mentally tough he is as a goaltender. And some of those traits right there as a goalie are the hardest ones to get through in a young goaltender like him. And seeing him do that at this age is like it's really impressive. And I know he's getting accolades across the board from any media outlet or podcast or whatever, and they're all well deserved. He is playing some incredible hockey right now. So stick taps to the big man there.
I think we have him for goalie of the year for our podcast.
I would say so. I would say goalie of the year so far. The competition wasn't as tough as you'd think it would be, but
yeah,
goalie of the year. Another guy I thought that played really well in this game. It's got to be mentioned because he got his first pro start was Hunter Johannes. We kind of didn't know what we were getting with this kid when we signed him straight out of college here. And you see that signing as a Griffins fan, you're like, depth, playoff depth, whatever. And this kid came out, I should say kid lightly. He does not look like a kid out there. He makes Lombardi and Casper look like under 18 players. Like, it's not even a joke. He's big. He's very sturdy looking. And dude, he can play. I like what he brought to the lineup on Friday.
He looks like he can take a hit. Like a few.
Or a few. Or throw a few.
Throw a few. He's a sturdy guy.
He impressed me.
He's huge. Yeah. Way better than I thought he played way better than Emmett. Than Finney did in his 2-game tryout. I think Hunter came out and really played really well. A lot of people are really liking his game from what I saw on Twitter, but also just he's a huge kid. He's a huge guy. He looks like he's 35.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect of him when we signed him, right? Like I didn't think he'd even see much playing time, but after this weekend he saw 2 games. Finney's also seen 2 games as well. But yeah, he impressed me. He fit the role that he needed to fit more than Finney did for the situations he was being used in. Again, I don't think Finney got a fair look. I think he belonged on the wing, and I'm going to stand by that. But Hunter just was all over the place, all over his guys, aggressive on the forecheck, and very defensively strong as well. Like I really like what he brings to the table, and I think he could be a really useful asset in the playoffs with what physicality he brings to the table.
Yes, it's going to be interesting once we get to playoffs because we have Sarnik coming back, and hopefully by then Spija's back and ready. Elmer is out with the flu, so hopefully he's coming back here soon too. So it's going to be an interesting lineup of what DN has to put out there. because then you throw in Emmett, you throw in Hunter, you throw in any of the other guys from the juniors that season's ends that you could plug in as well. So like it's getting interesting. We got about
Yeah.
20 more players to plug in by the end of the season to like meet the record, to eclipse that record of last year's player totals for games. We signed, I think it was like 43 or 48. I have to double check that.
48. It was
48. So
48.
I think we're only at like 28, 23, something like that. So huge improvement.
Yeah, huge improvement there, and still fitting these guys in the lineup here and there. I like it. Another guy I want to talk about, someone we don't talk about a lot on this podcast, just because he's not a Red Wings prospect by any means, but he's a really key piece of this team. And I think that's Joel Esperance. I thought Lesby had himself a fantastic game, an assist +1, 5 shots on goal, all over the ice again, playing super aggressive. But what we saw more from him was a lot of that down low, behind the net, around the net play that was generating scoring chances left and right. If only he trusted himself how to do the Michigan, he probably could have pulled off 3 opportunities in that game. Like, he had himself set up quite well behind the net, which was great because he's an excellent passer and he was looking for the young guys and making sure he could get it to their stick. And like we said, he had the assist on the Aston Reese goal, and it was another little down low pass right like that to get it over to him, and it looked great. So a guy that, again, we don't talk about a lot and deserves some praise there, I think.
Yeah, I'm really starting to like tune into his game this year. Last year I was really just trying to learn all the players. Because I watch it as a team. So I like watch it that way. I don't individually pick out players. But Lesby, like this year, he's just more of that sandpaper kind of guy. He brings that grit, he gets the chances, he's good down low. Like this style fits his play a little bit better, I feel. The other thing, and like I wrote notes throughout the game until the third period. I didn't write anything. But Lesby, the first period I wrote on there, I said he was hustling. He was like the only guy that was like actually trying to like give a crap. And there was a point, it was like 8 minutes in, or there was 8 minutes left in the game. There was a loose puck in the offensive zone. He hustled that down and got a one-on-one with Comesso. He didn't get the chance on it. He didn't get a chance to bury it, but I mean, it was still just him hustling, trying to get that puck. So I wrote that down, and usually, there's small things that I find that are useful. Little tidbits.
Hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate that about you.
little rays of sunshine.
Yeah, no, he had another good game, and just another guy you like seeing the consistency from as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, because as Griffins fans, we haven't seen playoff Lesperance yet. Texas has seen it before. We've never seen it. So I'm excited to see what he brings to the table in that environment, because I feel like he's going to be a true leader when it comes to the playoffs, and a very key piece. That whole third line, they're going to be key, very key.
They're very important.
But to wrap up this game, I think that's everyone I wanted to cover. Was anyone specifically you wanted to highlight there before I move on?
Simic. Radim Simic. Just the passing is incredible. Just, I don't know, like this. I felt that Friday's night game, overall team effort, like the passing, you could just tell too, is like the passing was so much better, and it was fast, and they were keeping possession in the offensive zone 5-on-5. Like it was so good. And I'm like, I haven't seen this style. Like this is a whole different Griffins like team tonight. It's a different style of play that I've seen. They're playing from behind the net. They're playing in front of the net. The passes are quick. Like it was just on. Like the guys were just on it that night. Like they knew the importance of this game and how close Rockford is to them. Like they really brought out their A+ game that night, I thought. So overall, like great team effort, great passing. Offensively, they were fantastic. Defensively, it was even better. I mean, it was just an overall great team game. And you see like Taro, somebody that's a little bit under the radar, like veteran, been here for a while. Zach Aston Reese, veteran, first year here. Jonathan Berggren. Like, you get those older guys. Like, Berggren's not one of those older guys, but you get a little bit of something from each line there. So like that was good, and the Carter Mazur Berggren connection, just keep that together. That's been fantastic.
Yeah,
and they've been
don't break that up.
Who was the other guy that was on the wing on that? Oh, it was Marco
Elmer?
and Elmer.
Yeah, I mean, it's been Marco, Bergie, Elmer. It's been Marco, Bergie, Mazur. Like that's kind of been the most consistent production line that we've seen when it comes to putting that line together of those. When you're centering people around Bergie, like if you're putting those guys around him, you're going to get production. So it makes sense.
And at one point, Bergie almost had Hunter set up for a goal too. Like,
oh my God, I would have lost it.
Like, oh, that
we
so
saw that happening, and that pass was so crisp to him, and he got stick lifted at the last second. I was like, oh, come on, that kid, first pro game, impressing the heck out of everyone, and would have found the back of the net too. I mean, like he would have been like, yeah, we're clearing roster space for him for the playoffs. He's on the roster, 100%. So yeah, it's good to see, and again, good call out too with Simic too, or Shimmick. I hate you. You made me do that.
Shimmick.
Yep, Shimmick. Yeah, good call out with him. A couple nuggets of information I pulled from the post-game interview that I wanted to bring up because I think they're relevant. One, like you said, Dan Watson talking about the team game, and he identified that as well. A lot of team game talk there, thinking the team rose up and did a really good job bouncing back from Wednesday's game. But there was a question that was asked, and then I think everyone's going to want to know the answer to this, and it was, with Cossa's performance that night, is he kind of the solidified starter for the playoffs? And Dan Watson said no. Dan has not made that decision yet. He's going to keep evaluating and watching, and they'll go with the goalie that they feel is right for each game. And we saw that coming a mile down the road. Like we watched enough Toledo Walleye hockey last year to know Dan's not going to pick a guy until he's fully confident. Do we think Cossa will end up being the guy? Yes, Cossa's going to end up being the guy. But Dan is not showing his hand on that one at all. And he's going to keep the people guessing until the last minute.
Yeah, because you don't want to name a starter, and then you got Rockford probably scouting the crap out of him for the next 3 weeks to figure out all of his weak points. Like, he's not going to name a starter until game 1, and then game 2 will probably switch as well to somebody else. Well, to Michael Hutchinson. That's their other goalie.
Yeah. I mean, good luck Rockford finding out their weak points. Like, there's not many in that kid's game. There's not many weak points there right now. The other thing, too, is the weirdest media question after a shutout, asking a coach what he thinks his rookie goaltender's ceiling is as a pro. Bro, like, what? Sorry, I had to call that one out. I heard it and then rewound and then had to listen to it again. I'm like, he asked that? Really? Who is this?
I thought about this question, too, the last couple mornings, and I'm like, I think the way I would answer this is hopefully it's a little bit taller than him, so he doesn't hit his head.
That would have, if Dan would have thrown that out there, I think I would have had to clip the interview. No, Dan said, Dan chuckled and just goes, well, hopefully an NHL goaltender. Like, I don't really know what you want me to say here. like, yeah, that's what you hope his ceiling is. Like, come on, buddy. Oh man, we need Elaine and Rinaldi back in that locker room asking questions. I swear to God.
Yeah. They did interview, and I have to go back through. Bob did interview Cossa at one of the intermissions for the second game. Just kind of getting his feels and thoughts of the season and how things are going, because Cossa didn't play that second game. But I clipped it. I tried to send it to you, but it wouldn't go through. It was too long.
Yeah, I mean, they interviewed Cossa after that shutout as well, and asked him the key questions. How's his confidence right now? And he says his confidence is super high. He's not arrogant about it by any means, but yeah, of course, when you're playing the way you are, that confidence is got to be high. And they asked him kind of similar questions about where he needs room to grow still and just continue to work on his game. The typical answers, but you can tell the way he's approaching the media conversation at this point, his confidence is at an all-time high, and it should be, as it should be.
Room to grow. How much more can this kid get? How much bigger can he get?
He wants to be the tallest goalie in the NHL ever.
What is that? Is he close?
I think he's like an inch off. Honestly, I think it's 6'8". Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. But Yeah, just a couple tidbits to pull out of the post-game interviews because I've been trying to watch those more and bring more of that information here because they do post those. They don't share them very widely, but they do post those online. So definitely worth a watch sometimes if the audio is good enough. Any final thoughts to get out there before we move on to Saturday's game?
No.
You can't just shake your head. No, we're not just a video podcast only. You know that, right?
No, but you can see me.
Unfortunately. All right. And with that, we will send it over to DraftKings real quick, meet our sponsor obligations. Then when we come back, we will dive into Saturday's game and some other updates from around the prospect sphere for everybody else in the CHL and everything else. So, Nick, go read the ad.
We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. With Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat all back and ready from the All-Star game, you've got good choices to make bets on them. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code THPN. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code THPN. The crown is yours. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. In Connecticut, help know for problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Will Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. cdkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
And welcome back. All right, let's dive into this Saturday game down in Rockford. The Griffins got to go down to it. It was not as much fun as the Friday game. Let's just start there. This is not the result we wanted, but it's kind of the result I expected, if I'm being honest with you.
Why?
Well, the Griffins had a rough game on Wednesday. They had a great game on Saturday where they played their hearts out. They played really well on Wednesday still. But there's been a lot of travel, a lot of playing, still dealing with the flu bug. I figured there was going to be a point where that kind of shows how tired they are right now. And this game showed. Like going into this week, knowing that they don't play again until Friday, I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. That's fantastic. Thank God. They need these days off. They've earned these days off. Yeah, but the Griffins go down to Rockford and lose this one 3-1. Michael Hutchinson gets to start in this one, stops 24 of 26. The goal for the Griffins in this one, 16 minutes, 53 seconds in. Carter Mazer got his 16th of the season, assisted by Marco Kasper. Griffins went 0 for 2 on the power play. Yeah, penalty kill, went 3 for 4. It wasn't bad by any means. This game, the boys just seemed off. Like, once Rockford got the lead early in the third there, it just didn't seem like the Griffins were going to be able to come back in this one. They definitely tried. But it wasn't the same Griffins team we watched play on Friday, for sure. The lineup was pretty much the same, except defensively, they changed some things up.
Shimmick was out because he had to deal with some family issues in California, Bob said. Gettinger's still out. He's with a lower body injury. He's seeing a specialist, which I thought was concerning. They said he should be back.
That is concerning. That's really concerning.
Yeah, so I don't know. He said lower body. And then the other guy that was out was Elmer, still dealing with the flu.
Yeah, he was still out in this game too.
Yeah. Your lineup for this one, for defensive, you had Johansson and Didier, Vollander and Newpower, and then your last pairing was Vero and Tuomisto.
Yeah, not your typical defensive pairings by any means. And that definitely, the guys they don't gel as well defensively together when they get shifted around like that, for sure. You don't see, like, the forwards, you can throw them all around all over the place and they're still going to play pretty good hockey. In this one, the defense kind of struggled here. And I mean, Hutch didn't play bad, but it definitely wasn't his best game either by any means. I think,
I thought Hutch played really well. The team was just let him out to dry. There was plenty of 2-on-1s. There was a lot of breakaways, and like he stood on his head and he really carried this team as much as possible. the big thing was there was 4 goalposts we hit in 2 periods of hockey. Like, if any of those were just a centimeter or a millimeter away, like, we would have had this. I think the game would have been a little different. But that's just like it was just crazy. It was just breakaways. 2-0 broke a stick and it's gone the other way. And it was just a weird game that way of just bad puck luck. And like when we couldn't get anything to go, I think the guys were just like, all right, it's just not our night. Like, that's probably
definitely
how more of the
wasn't.
feeling of it.
One thing that we got to talk about that happened before we dive into a couple of the players here. I guess this is talking about one of the players, but like I said, the game got away from the Griffins when they lost the lead, where it wasn't tied anymore. And that goal by Mike Hardman was on the power play. And how did Rockford get on that power play, you might ask? By Zach Aston Reese throwing equipment. Picks up the stick with the broken stick on the ice with his stick and throws it out of the way, like flips it into the air. You can't do that. Like, everybody knows you don't do that. You just let it lay there. Leave it there. Like, that was the most Bush League thing he could have done. And it immediately cost the Griffins. Like, Rockford was able to score on that one right away. Now, there was some penalties before that were questionable. I see Berge hurt the refs' feelings again. So that was good to see. Good job, Berge. I fully support the Swedish sass hurting the refs' feelings. I really do. I want to know what he says and what language he says it in, though. And then you also see that Wyatt Newpower got a 10-minute misconduct for abusive officials as well, right at the end of the game. So they definitely let their opinions be heard, which I can appreciate, but you could definitely tell they got a little emotional in this one.
Yeah. And that's what I had messaged to everybody in the group chat is like there was a hit on Cross Hannes and there was a lot of questionable calls. The Cross Hannes hit did not get called, and that's what set the whole bench off. They went off, and that's when Berge got his abuse of officials. And then during that same, like literally right after, Zach Aston Reese flips the broken stick towards the bench, the Rockford bench, and that's where it's like, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, at that point, I'm like, Dan needs to call a timeout, calm these guys down, like get everybody back on the same page, like just readjust, reset. That's what the timeouts are for. I don't think he used one there. I think there was a media timeout, maybe, and like that's where he was able to plug in. But yeah, at that point, it was just emotional. They're just playing with emotions at that point, and like every time we've seen that, it doesn't end well for us. We need to stop. Like, that's the one area too that I think needs to be adjusted when we move forward into the playoffs. Like, that stuff can't happen. And they've done a good job of it all season. But
yeah, I mean, a team like that, though, a team like Rockford, you can't give them that ammunition going into the playoffs. If that's going to be your opponent, you can't let them know what's going to get you set off. And if you did, you cannot let that same thing set you off in the playoffs. Like, you have to figure out how to control that. So the emotional side of the game for these guys is going to, I think it will be probably the biggest challenge this Griffins team faces in the playoffs. They're young, one of the youngest teams in the AHL. They've got a lot to learn with that. And I hope that doesn't ever bite them. But at the same time, that could be the thing that does. And that's probably one of my biggest concerns going into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. But you can't give Rockford that ammunition, man. You just can't. You've got to control it. And we'll see what happens Friday when they get Rockford back to town here and whatever they do with that. But up until then, let's talk about some of the guys in this game. I know it's hard to try to pull some positives out of this one, but I pulled one out for you. Carter Mazur, his 16th goal of the season. And then since his injury, since his injury, when he came back, he's been outstanding. Like, the level of play that he's playing right now it's at a whole new level from where we saw at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's helped too. Like, the line mates that he's been on. He's been with Berge. He's been with Marco. He's been with Matt Love, I believe. So he's playing really well. That goal, I don't know how he put that in. Like, I watched that replay like 4 times. I can't figure out where the puck went. He just sneaks that past the goalie, and I think it was on the short side is why I'm not seeing it. But I've seen a lot of guys are sticking to that now. It's like they're trying to surprise the goalie by shooting it at their head, at their face, try to get that bounce off into that little spot between their shoulders and the crossbar. So I think that's where he ends up putting it. But it was a sneaky goal, and it was right off the face-off too. So yeah, good to see from Carter. And that's exactly like what you want to see him going into the playoffs with confidence, with stats on the score sheet, making a difference, because that's just going to continue to help him.
Yeah, and I mean, to give the Griffins benefit of the doubt here, Jackson Stubar playing in net for Rockford, he's only lost one of his last 12 games. One. Like, he's on an absolute heater right now, and that's the goaltender that they ended up facing in this one. Again, I don't try to question Dan Watson's decision-making with goaltending, but I might have flip-flopped the Knights here and put Coase against him, put hot goalie against hot goalie. I think it would have made sense. Comesso hasn't been on the hot streak he was on when he used to drive us nuts. Stubar is the one I'm most worried about when it comes to the playoffs. I think I would have flip-flopped that, but again, it's just me. I'm not a coach. Life doesn't make sense for me. So we're, Stubar is good. He's been something. So that's where like the Griffins ran into a hot goaltender and had an off night and played emotional. Like, it's kind of the recipe for a loss. They're lucky it wasn't a bigger loss than that, losing only 3-1 in this one. I feel like they could have lost probably 5-1, 5-2 in this one, honestly. Looking at the highlights I looked at. So coming out the way they did with this, it is what it is. And if it was the playoffs, the series is tied 1-1, right? If this was that best of 3 play-in round, all the cards are on the table in Grand Rapids on Friday. Like, that's why I hate that play-in round. Like, think about that. Like, our season would be on the line based on those 2 games and what comes Friday in the grand scheme of things.
But wild. I wouldn't be nervous. I wouldn't be nervous for Friday's game, though.
I wouldn't be ever nervous with us playing at home. Are you kidding me? We're so good at home. But, yeah. Honestly, though, man, that's all I wanted to talk about with this game. I don't have a ton to add to this. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
There was one play that I want to mention is Vollinder takes the hit and then bodies his guy and throws him down. And I was like, whoa, this is something that I have not seen from Vollinder ever. It's just throwing a guy down. Yeah, so it was, and then so just him, he was a little bit more physical this game. So I like to see that, and something to keep an eye on. I don't know if we're gonna get a playoff of Vollinder or what. If this is he's gearing up for the season, like these next 2 weeks, he's gonna be a little bit more physical, knowing what's coming up or what. But I did want to mention that play. It was a little surprising. I had to go back to watch it.
Yeah, that's a good call out there. And when you said if we get a playoff Vollinder, like every team's got that guy or two that, you know, they just come out in the playoffs and they sort of shock everybody and they're like, where's this guy been in the regular season? Then we still don't see him in the regular season. Like, you know, it's just how it goes sometimes, which is fine as long as they perform adequately in the regular season, but they can blow the doors down in the playoffs. Like, that's fine. It's whatever. I think this Griffins team has got a bunch of guys that we're going to see light it up in the playoffs and turn it on. And they're guys that have already turned it on a little bit in the regular season, but I think you're going to see a whole new level out of a lot of these kids, because a lot of these kids were well known for how they performed in high pressure games. Yep. And I think we're going to see a few of them raise the bar. Like, I'm very excited to see what a Marco Kasper in the playoffs looks like. I'm very excited to see what a Carter Mazer looks like in the playoffs. I'm very excited to see what an Albert Johansson looks like in the playoffs. And I'm thrilled to see what a Sebastian Cossa looks like in the AHL playoffs. Like, this is going to be a good time. But that wraps up the Griffins weekend there. Again, going 1-1 against Rockford. It is what it is there. The Griffins have a crazy weekend coming up. The AHL schedule starts to get a little bit more wild as we hit the end of the season here. So Rockford comes back to town on Friday at Van Andel. It's the Hope Network game. Some sweet black and gold jerseys the Griffins will be rocking for that one. Should be another packed house that night too. And then the Griffins travel to Chicago to take on the Wolves on Saturday and Sunday. They have an 8:00 game on Saturday and a 4:00 game on Sunday. That's going to be interesting. We'll have a lot of hockey to talk about in next Monday's episode. This is a light episode. The next one's going to be a long one for sure. But the Griffins will have a new addition again coming for those games in the form of another goaltender in Ville Husso. The Griffins currently have 4 goaltenders.
Yeah, I've been like beating the drum. I'm like, where is Huso? Like, is he coming? Is he not? It's been about 2 weeks, and I'm like, all right, they just shut him down for the rest of the season. Like, they're just gonna start if they make the playoffs. Maybe he plays game 2, game 3. I don't know. Maybe we're just shut him down. And then literally today they announced Billy Huso loaned to Grand Rapids. So you think he gets to start Friday?
I would say so. I think that makes the most sense. Maybe. I'm trying to
It's a
find
home
something.
game.
Hold on.
It's a whole. So the reason why I think he probably plays Friday, first of all, it's home. 2, you give Rockford 3 different goalies that they have to play against. So different styles for all 3 goalies. And this is a big game. Like, this gives us another 2 points if Uso can come out and shut her down again, because he's already got 1 shutout down here for the season. So
I'm guessing that you see Huso Friday, and I don't think you only see Huso for 1 game this time. I think Detroit learned their lesson. I think they're going to give him a game or 2, or maybe even 3. I wouldn't say back to back to back, obviously, but I think they're not just going to say, "Oh, he had 1 conditioning game. He's good to go. Here we go," and he's going to go play and get injured in the first period again. Like, that's not how that's going to work. So, I realistically could see Ville Husso Friday, Ville Husso Sunday, Ville Husso Wednesday.
yeah,
Give Coase a little bit of a rest. Give Hutch a little bit of a rest. I'll even go further to predict it. You're going to see Hoos, Coase, Hoos. There you go. That's my
that makes
prediction.
sense.
Yep.
Give Hutch some
So
break.
Chicago will get him once, Rockford gets him once, and Iowa gets him once. Poor Chicago and Iowa getting him. Oh, man.
Well, yeah, because that Sunday game is going to be probably the game of the season right there. The last game against Milwaukee.
Or last. Yeah.
The last Sunday game.
That
So
could be the most important game we've seen in Van Andel Arena in a long time.
that's
Not
probably
important by making the playoffs, but important by the standard of we're playing Milwaukee. That game could decide the division the way things are going.
I hope so.
God, me too. And I don't think either team plays between now and Friday. So,
shoot.
nope.
Yeah, nope.
Nope, they don't. Milwaukee doesn't play till Friday. We don't play till Friday. Milwaukee's got, you said 3 games this weekend?
Yeah, they play. Everybody plays a weird schedule. They play Chicago and then Rockford back to back. So like we're right in the middle between Milwaukee and Rockford. So it's like it puts us in a weird rooting scenario. Like, what do we need to happen? Because if Rockford wins both games, that gets them to 79 points and we're at 80. If Milwaukee wins them, they're at 92 points and we're at 80. So like I think we need Rockford to win both games in regulation. I think that's what we're
So the
rooting for.
perfect world is that the Griffins win all 3 games.
Yeah.
Rockford loses Friday, wins their 2 games in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And we go into Monday being 2 points behind Milwaukee with 3 games left.
Yeah. And Rockford plays Iowa Thursday night. No, they play on Wednesday. Sorry.
Yeah, Wednesday.
They play Iowa, then us.
They play them Tuesday. Tomorrow.
They play
today.
Today. Tomorrow. Tuesday. They play them Tuesday, and then they play us and Milwaukee back to back. So this is an interesting portion of the last part of the season for them. Like, it's like they could come out of this weekend 0-3. Like, just getting beat up by us in Milwaukee. But
how terrible would that be?
Hopefully we beat them and then they just take their loss. Or yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's just us being fanboys. I don't think that'll happen. Like, Rockford is an extremely talented team. I don't think they'll do that. They're still one of the hottest teams in the AHL, but there's a chance. So,
Yeah,
I
you just
mean,
can't hope for overtime on these.
no, we're not going to get ourselves into the Red Wings situation. At least we've clinched. But like these random games that you're counting on going to overtime and the standings getting closer and closer, we're not going to play that game. But at the same time, we're in. It really doesn't matter. I don't care if we're top of the division or not. But it would be cool. It'd be cool
I
to
think
see.
it'd be sick.
Yeah.
We're this
We'll-
close. I'm like, oh, come on, just get it.
Well, it's funny too because you go back to January and you're like, "There's no way in hell you're catching Milwaukee. What? That team's on a tear. They went in a 19-game win streak. You're way behind them, and now we're 8 points behind them. Like, what a wild, wild division."
6 games left.
Speaking
We can
of-
do it. It could happen.
Yeah. Speaking of wild divisions, let's give a quick AHL playoff update before we get into the other update you want to jump into there, because some more teams have clinched since the last episode. So,
Yeah.
Quick rundown. Atlantic Division, Hershey, Providence, Wilkes-Barre, and Charlotte have all clinched for that division there. In the Central Division, Milwaukee, Grand Rapids, Rockford, and Texas joined the club, officially clinching a playoff spot. In the Pacific Division, all teams have officially clinched a spot. Coachella, Tucson, Ontario, Colorado, Abbotsford, Bakersfield, and Calgary. Henderson and San Diego and San Jose are officially out. So that division is set, except the division winner has not been set. I'm assuming it'll be set this weekend, and Coachella probably walks away with that one. And then the North Division. We are 5 to 6 games remaining for most teams, and only one team is clinched, and that's the Syracuse Crunch. So we've talked about this division week over week now, just because it's fascinating to see what's happening here. Syracuse clinched there at 82 points. Rochester in second at 81 points. Cleveland in third at 80 points. Toronto in fourth at 75. Laval in fifth at 72. Belleville in sixth at 72. And Utica at 71.
Cleveland. What's that Tom Petty song? Free Fallin'?
3,
Like,
5, 2, and 0 in their last 10. Well, it's not their fault entirely. Columbus is just riddled with injuries, and they have no choice but to pick them apart. I mean, when Cleveland played this weekend, they got a win too, which shocked me. They didn't have either of their actual goaltenders. They're both in Columbus. Malcolm Subban got a start for the Blue Jackets this year. Like, what?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to be very excited to watch Griffins hockey over the next 2 weeks, obviously, and going into the playoffs. But like for the next 2 weeks, like my eyes are glued to these games every night that are playing. Like, what is going to happen in the North? And I don't think anybody knows. It's so bizarre.
It's as wild as this Eastern playoff conference race for the NHL. Like, just everybody's right there. Everybody's so close. I mean, to me, it would be surprising if Utica got in. They're 11 points back, but they're 6-3 in their last 10. So, I mean, I guess I have to really look at their schedule and see who they're playing. But yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, it's the top 5 in that division. Yes, they're 11 points out, but how many points are they out of a spot?
1.
Okay, like exactly this. I don't understand, man. I do not understand. This is wild. I'm trying.
Belleville and Laval are tied at 72 points for that last spot, and I don't know how the tiebreaker works, but win percentage is .529 for Laval and .545 for Belleville, so they actually have a better win percentage, but are below them.
I could be wrong, but I believe the first tiebreaker is regulation wins. I'm looking at the playoff primer right now, right? So Rochester needs one more point to clinch. Like, whoop-de-doo. Cleveland 2, Toronto 7, Laval 13, Belleville 10, and Utica 14. Because Laval only has 4 games left in the season. So Yeah. I don't know, man. I've seen crazy playoff races in the AHL before. I cannot remember a time where with 4 or 5, 6 games remaining, only one team in an entire division has officially clinched a spot. Like, let's say
2 weeks left.
Let's say Rochester loses out. They don't win. They're done. They're in second place right now, and they could not make the playoffs. That's not going to happen. They're 8-1, 0-1 in their last 10. But like, that's where we're at in the North right now. This is crazy. I love it. It's not our division this time. Thank God.
Yeah. Holy moly.
But elsewhere in the prospect sphere here, we've got some playoffs going on. You've got some updates for us.
Yeah. I did want to mention Jasper real quick. Got his shutout in the NHL. Speaking of goalies getting starts this weekend with Malcolm, Jasper got that start in Minnesota. Got his shutout. Little redemption for him. I know he's still at
Jesper Wallstedt?
Average. Yeah.
Jesper Wallstedt shutout in the NHL. So hold on. He gets blown out for 7 in his first career start, and then his second one gets a shutout.
Gets a shutout. Gets St. Louis, I believe.
All right, I'll give him kudos because I've been ragging on him this whole time. He gets the golf clap.
A little bit of golf clap.
And moving on.
And moving on. All right, so CHL update. We didn't do one last week, so I want to give the listeners, the viewers, what's going on in juniors. So, this will actually be pretty quick because most of the first round has finished. So we'll start in the O because that's where we're at. Flint got swept by London. We kind of saw that was going to come. That was going to happen. Saginaw swept Owen Sound 4-0, which they should have. Saginaw is loaded up for the Memorial Cup. They're hosting. They put all the chips in. They're trying to win the whole dang thing for their conference and then also the Memorial Cup. That is starting next month, which is very soon. So the Sioux, so good. They swept.
So freaking good.
So freaking good. They swept. Gibson. So Andrew Gibson, our prospect there, finished the series with a +4, 2 penalty minutes, and 8 shots on goal.
No points.
No points.
Oh,
which, if you remember in the beginning of the season, he was just lighting it up with assists. Like he was on pace for like 100 assists in the season, but slowed down near the end. So I don't know what's going on or anything. The last remaining game in this is last remaining matchup is Kitchener versus Erie. It's currently 3-2 Kitchener. They play Tuesday at 7, so that'll be out. And then North Bay has beat Kingston 4-1, and we have Tanias Matherin 1 assist, 1 point, 4 penalty minutes in this game or in the series. They play Sudbury Wolves next. So I didn't put a list on that one. Second round, this is where it gets interesting. So I just have the first 4 games. The first game is game 1 is Thursday at 7:05 in Saginaw. So if you don't have any hockey to go to, don't have anything doing, go to Saginaw for Thursday's game. You'll be able to see Andrew Gibson and see Zane. I'm going to murder this name, but Zane Parik. Whatever. I'll take the hate on it on the comments. But he is projected to be like one of the top 5 draft picks for the NHL for this draft. So the kid is very good on defense. Game 2 is Saturday at 7:05 in Saginaw, which is the game I was going to ask you to go to, but you've got family commitments now. That's where I was like, Saturday, I have something. So yeah, game 2 is Saturday in Saginaw. Game 3 is Monday at 7:07 in the Sioux. And then game 4 is Wednesday at 7:07 in the Sioux. Real weird start times there. 7:05 in Saginaw, 7:07 in the Sioux. I don't know.
It better be by the minute too. They better be on time.
That finishes the O. The Western Hockey League. So we have Nate Danielson over there in Portland Winterhawks. They swept Victoria 4-0. Their stats are really weird online, but I clicked on Nate they were only showing the first 3 games. So I was like, did they just play only the 3, like a lot of their guys 3 games and send everybody off the 4th? I don't know. But if
It
you
wasn't
click
a
on
best
them,
of 5, right?
no, it was they played
Oh.
4. And once you click on Nate, you can see his full stats for the series. So the one thing that we always harp on is like we can't see faceoffs anywhere. So I'm dialing in on Nate's. So they play Everett Silvertips. They play Friday at 7, Saturday at 6, Monday at Everett at 7, and then Friday at Everett. Both those games at Everett are 7:05. It's weird too. For his last series against Victoria, the stats: 4 games, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points. He was a +3. 4 penalty minutes. So stayed out of the box, which is good. 14 shots on goal in those 4 games. Face-offs. He had 77 attempts. 45 wins.
Okay.
58% the face-off circle, which
Nothing wrong
good.
with that at all. That's great. That's fantastic. God, I can't wait till he's here.
I feel like we just haven't seen a whole lot of Nate Danielson like videos up right now or clips.
It's because they play at the wee hours of the morning, essentially. My God. Most of their games are like 10, 11 o'clock at night, our time. Sucks.
Oh, is that okay. So yeah, add like 3 or 4 hours to those times I just said because
Oh, yeah, they're
we're
Western time, bro.
And then
Geography with
lastly,
Nick.
well, anything with Nick is gonna be chaos. Lastly, we've got one other team, so I guess we got to cover. This one will be real quick. So Michigan plays the number 1 seed Boston College Thursday, April 14th in the Frozen Four. That's about it. Number 3 seed Denver plays number 2 seed Boston University. So you could potentially see in the national championship game for college hockey, Boston College versus Boston U. Like how crazy would that be, right? Just remarkable, right? But yeah, we've got Denver prospect, Bouillon. Who else do we have over in Denver? Is that it, right? Just Bouillon?
Just shy.
And then Michigan, we have some kid named Keenan Draper. So I guess his
You might
dad was
know him.
famous. But that's our kind of our recap for all the juniors, all the prospects here. Palika's still playing. His stats are really it's hard for me to follow the Sweden like playoffs and find the reputable like websites and like stats and stuff for him, but he's still playing good. And that's it for Palika. And I had one more note. So he is staying, they said, in Sweden for 1 more year. So we will not see him over here next year. Womp, womp, womp.
That sucks, but it also makes sense. So
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep.
Just like Trey will be at 1 more year at MSU at least. So
Yeah, as they should. Like we've talked about it, is like, and I've said it before, is we're kind of out of that time of having prospects that we draft come right to the NHL. Like we really shouldn't be in that spot. Like we shouldn't be drafting in the top 5. So to see like these guys, like we're taking the right development, like that's so important to me.
good update, sir. Appreciate it. Anything else you want to add to this week's Monday episode?
No, I'm really blacking out here.
How many Eclipse jokes can you fit into one episode? Don't think that people don't notice. They notice. Well, perfect. Well, with that, we will wrap up this episode here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Shout out to Everything Hockey. Go to everythinghockey.com. Use code WEST. Get 10% off your order. Shout out to DraftKings and the Hockey Podcast Network for also being fantastic partners. Shout out to all of you for listening in, tuning in weekly, subscribing, liking, sharing our stuff. We appreciate it. Everybody, have a fantastic week. Go Griffins. Go Walleye. Go Red Wings. Please go Red Wings. 2 huge games this week. And we will talk to y'all on Thursday with a special Toledo Thursday update I don't think you guys are going to want to miss.
Love you. Bye. I'll see you guys tomorrow at the Wings game.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod, and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy, and Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey.